Welcome to the deep dive. We're cutting through all the noise from yesterday's Major League Baseball action.
Yeah, getting right to it.
Exactly. We want to uncover the real story, the one etched into the season's narrative.
Hmm.
Our mission today is basically to pull out those crucial insights, dissect the wins and losses, and help you grasp the bigger picture.
Right, without getting bogged down in just the raw box scores.
Precisely.
And yesterday's slate, it really gave us a fascinating look, kind of a cross-section of the league right now.
Yeah. What stood out?
Well, as we looked at the results, a clear theme kind of emerged, it felt like. Well, almost two different leagues playing on the same day.
How so?
You had these games where the offense was just completely on fire, like full explosion mode.
Okay.
And then others were absolute pitching masterclasses, super tight, down to the last out.
I see. The extremes.
Exactly. It really showcased both the raw power and that delicate precision in baseball.
That's a great way to put it. Bifurcated, you said earlier. Let's lean into that first part then. The offensive fireworks. What games really jumped out with those, lopsided scores?
Well, you absolutely have to start with the Texas Rangers. Just dismantling the Angels 13-1.
Wow, okay. 13-1.
And what's really insightful there isn't just the number, the 13 runs, it's how they did it. We saw big contributions from guys, deeper in the lineup, not just the usual suspects.
The depth's kicking in.
Exactly. Turning maybe a good night into a total rout. That kind of pressure, especially from the bottom of the order, that's a strong sign of a team finding its offensive identity.
Yeah, that makes sense. If that depth hold, that's a huge asset, right?
Right.
Especially heading into tougher games.
Absolutely critical.
And speaking of surprising offense, maybe the Miami Marlins. They put up a dozen runs against the Reds, 12-2.
Yeah.
They aren't always known for that kind of firepower.
They're really not, which makes it even more interesting. And this wasn't necessarily like a home run barrage.
Yeah.
Instead, the Marlins seemed really disciplined, stringing hits together, consistently cashing in with runners in scoring position.
It's more about manufacturing runs.
Right. That ability to just grind out runs, keep rallies going, that feels like a more sustainable way for them to climb the standings than just, waiting for the three-run homer.
Good point. Okay. And then you have the teams we expect to hit doing just that. The Yankees asserting themselves 10-3 over Seattle.
Another strong showing. Cements their place.
And the Red Sox putting up 10 runs against the Rockies, 10-2. Fenway looking like a hitter's park again.
Yeah, those feel less like surprises and maybe more like confirmations, confirming what we know about those powerful lineups.
Right. Business as usual almost.
But, what's really fascinating in this whole offensive surge discussion, the Oakland Athletics beating the Atlanta Braves 10-1.
Whoa, okay. That is surprising. The Braves usually score a ton.
Exactly. They're an offensive juggernaut, typically. So for the A's to not only shut them down pitching-wise, but then to unleash their own double-digit offense,
Yeah.
that's a result that definitely makes you raise your eyebrows, makes you wonder what clicked for Oakland in that specific game.
For sure. Challenges your assumptions about team strength.
Totally. It's one of those any given day kind of results.
Okay, so we've seen the fireworks, the bats going crazy. But like you said, baseball isn't always about scoring 10 runs.
Not at all.
On the flip side, some teams were locked in these real grinded-out battles. Every run felt precious.
Nail biters.
Let's talk about those. The San Diego Padres, for instance, edged out the Diamondbacks just 1 year. What does a game like that tell you?
Oh, a game like that is just a masterclass in the tiny margins of this sport.
Yeah.
That Padres win, it wasn't just superb pitching in a vacuum. It probably suggests like a pitch-to-contact approach, maybe, keeping the pitch count down.
Okay, relying on the defense.
Exactly. Coupled with, stellar infield defense, probably turning potential hits into double plays. It's airtight defense, strategic pitching. One mistake or one brilliant play is the whole difference.
And winning like that with minimal offense, that says a lot too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Highlights a strong bullpen, mental toughness, stuff that carries you deep into October.
That focus on defense, mental strength, crucial. And speaking of resilience, how about the Kansas City Royals? Pulled out a tight one, 4-3 against the Pirates.
Yeah, another close one.
Those games really test a team's character, don't they?
They absolutely do. A 4-3 win, especially if it got tense late, that really showcases bullpen composure.
Holding that slim lead in the ninth.
Right? Maybe with a tying run on base. It suggests maybe a newfound mental toughness for the Royals, perhaps. A shift from maybe earlier struggles, closing out tight games.
Yeah, those are the wins that build confidence, show you can perform under pressure.
Definitely. Huge character builders.
It's interesting, you look at these scores, just the numbers, but you can almost picture the individual moments behind them. Those big offensive games. Someone or multiple someones had phenomenal nights. You know, extra base hits, maybe multi-homer games.
For sure. Someone was seeing the ball like a beach ball.
And conversely, those 1-in-arrow 4-3 games, driven by stellar pitching, maybe a complete game, or just lights-out bullpen work. Every out earned with grit.
Precision and execution. So that hidden drama inside the box score, like you said.
Yeah. And speaking of digging into the data, something else caught your eye, right? These duplicate entries.
Yes, exactly. This is particularly fascinating. As we look through everything, we saw what looks like, well, duplicate results for a few matchups.
Which ones?
Specifically, the Dodgers versus the Brewers, the Blue Jays versus the White Sox, and the Phillies versus the Giants.
Same scores listed twice, or different scores?
Different scores, but for the same matchup on the same day, which strongly suggests to me we're likely looking at doubleheaders here.
Okay. That makes sense.
And if that's the case, these results give us incredibly valuable insight, into team depth, endurance, crucial stuff over a long season.
Oh, that's huge. Doubleheaders are such a grind. They're really separate teams.
They really do.
So take the Brewers, for example. If they did sweep a doubleheader against a team like the Dodgers, the sources showed 3-1 and 3-2 wins for Milwaukee.
Yes, that's what the data suggests.
Wow. Taking both games from a team as strong as LA in one day. That speaks volumes, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Shows incredible depth, especially pitching-wise, and just performing under that sustained pressure. That's a prime example of a team built for, a deep playoff run.
A major statement by Milwaukee, if that's the case. What about the others? Blue Jays and White Sox?
That looked like a split, potentially.
Right.
The Blue Jays taking one, maybe 6-1, and the White Sox grabbing the other one, maybe 2-1.
Okay, so more balance there.
Yeah, suggests maybe a more even competition. Each team showed, flashes of good play, but maybe some vulnerability, too, across the two games. Neither team really dominating the day.
Gotcha. And the Phillies and Giants, also a split.
Also looked like a split, but with a much wilder swing.
Oh, yeah.
The Giants seemed to take a close one, 4-3. But then the Phillies apparently came back in the second game and just exploded, winning 13-0.
13-0 after losing the first one.
Right. It perfectly highlights that classic baseball unpredictability, even within a single day.
Wow.
A team gets shut down, looks flat, and then just completely flips the script offensively. Probably due to pitching matchups, adjustments, momentum. Who knows?
It's like a whole season's worth of narrative packed into 18 innings.
Exactly. A microcosm of the ebb and flow.
So when we zoom back out, connect these individual games, these potential doubleheaders, to the bigger picture, what's the takeaway?
Well, I think those dominant wins from teams like the Rangers, the Yankees, maybe the Marlins, they suggest potential contenders are really finding their rhythm. Hitting a new gear, maybe?
Finding consistency.
Right. And conversely, those super tight wins by the Padres, the Royals, they just underscore how vital fundamentals and late game execution are.
Things you absolutely need for the playoffs.
Essential qualities, yeah. And taken together, all these results, they really suggest that even, halfway or more through the season, things are far from settled.
Still a lot of baseball left.
A ton.
Yeah.
Every game matters, regardless of who's playing who. And, external factors, injuries, slumps, surges, they'll keep shaping things.
It really is the essence of baseball, isn't it? That unpredictability we saw yesterday.
Totally. One moment, it's an offensive onslaught, teams just mashing.
Yeah, can't miss.
The next, you're completely gripped by a pitcher's duel. Every pitch feels huge.
Like high-stakes chess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the ability to win both ways. The slugfests and the grinders, and maybe even grind through a doubleheader. That's the mark of a truly championship caliber team.
So it really makes you wonder, doesn't it, looking ahead?
Yeah, what does it all mean for the next few weeks, the next month?
How will teams leverage these different strengths? The big bats, the lockdown pitching, that doubleheader resilience.
Right. How do they use those strengths to jockey for position in the division races, the wild card hunt?
Exactly. Yesterday's action definitely leaves us with a lot to think about. It just reinforces that old saying, right? In baseball, no lid is safe.
No deficit is too big to overcome.
And every single game is its own unique story waiting to unfold.
Mm-hmm. The beauty of it is that continuous narrative, those endless possibilities. It never really stops surprising you.